My name is Yue Fung Wong, and I'm here to talk about my lesson from the module EPD381 and assignment number 1. So, background: this is a grade 3 science lesson on the topic of heart and lungs. So, this is lesson part 1 out of 3. Um, the audience is grade 3, key stage 1. They are 9 to 10 years old. There are 3, I think I'll say 5 students with additional needs. This arranged, some of them are English secondary language. Some of them are quite distracted, and there's one student who's online, and they'll start chatting to each other. So classroom management is also a thing we have to consider. And the learning outcome of this lesson is, first part is going to learn about the heart and heart rate and the pulse rate that increases when the person exercises. And then hopefully by the end of the lesson, students can identify the heart and its function, what it does. And most students should be able to find the correlation between exercise and pulse rate, how it increases. Most students should be able to find the pulse rate as well. And hopefully some students can explain more about how it draws this connection with the lung as we progress further into the lesson 2. So some of the keywords are, pumping blood, job is to pump blood, and the pulse rate. And they're going to learn a new measurement, which is beats per minute, and how it affects, how it changes about exercise. Okay, so I can have my PowerPoint on the left. So, let's go to, and this is a 5E lesson. 5E is a learning model, first established by Akin and Karpus, and involving elements of exploration, introducing new terms, and concept application. So 5E stands for engage, explain, engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. So hopefully through some of the different activities, those will be based around on this lesson, and it will help the student understand through different cognitive approaches. First of all, the start of lesson has some bell work. So students get their science journal, which is the exercise book. They have some time to look at the comments from the teacher and make corrections, and students are allowed to read ahead if they have no corrections. So we start the lesson by engage. So we want to ask students to find their heart and lung, and they are going to ask questions like, how do you know this is your heart? How do you know this is your lung? Starting with the heart, how do you know this is your heart? Well, they're going to identify things like beating, it beats, and it just beats very steadily, things like that. The lung, which job, you can notice your lung because it expands and contracts. So after they are inquisitive, after you get their attention, so get students to look at the picture on the diagram. So I'm going to ask the students what the picture is doing. Have a look at the arrows. What are the arrows? Why are they different colors? What do you think it means? They're going to answer. The students will be excited to answer those, but I remember trying a new approach, which is to draw the students randomly through a number generator. So students are not asked to put their hands up, rather answers by themselves. But anyway, we want to know what happens if the heart is removed from the body. Actually, this part's not so important to knowledge. This is not formally assessed, so we just want to engage students and ask them draw the curiosity. And what happened to our organs if the heart is removed? What machine can replace our heart? This is to get students to think about the functions of the heart. Next, we move on to explain. So now that I've done some exploring and I've done some engaging, now we start to explain. Oh, and some more questions. What steps do people need to keep it running? If we want to replace a heart with a specific machine, what do you think it would be? Would it be A, a generator, B, a pump, or C, a cleaning machine, a washing machine? We want to get students to think about these things before we engage with the explanation, so they can have time to test the previous knowledge, and also to get them to find, activate, they can start looking flicking through the book, see if they can find the answer. So we go to explanation. So lesson objective is to understand the function of the heart. So we tell them, all right, the heart is a powerful machine, like it's a powerful muscle, between the lungs. Its job is to pump blood around and get oxygen into the body. So oxygen is one of the keywords, so we want to elicit those and want to write those down on the whiteboard as we go along. Hopefully students should be able to tell us from these questions before. That would be nice, so we know how far they remember, or how well they remember. Then I've got a step to show the process, and then this will start coloring itself in as I click, 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 click. So this is a nice activity, and show them a picture of the heart. I think everyone draws their attention. It's very good at that. And a short video to explain what it does and how it does through a very nice animation. Then we want to ask them, hey, can you explain the parts of the heart? What happened? We just have recess, or we have break time. We went non-stop for 10 minutes. What happened to your heart when it exercised? So the idea is we want to get students thinking about respiration and heart and blood, the relationship around the heart and the other parts of the body and the functions. So after they have some sharing and then they have some discussions, and yes, we tell them, it affects something, it pumps faster. And when we call it pump faster, it means a pulse rate, it pumps faster, it's faster. So pulse rate is the heartbeats per minute. Now, of course, many of them will have no idea what it is, so we want to go into the activity. So go back into exploration to get this group to do an activity. So first, using a science journal, they can start to write some of this, writing some of this down. So my pulse rate when sitting. And then the students, once they write this down, students are instructed to find their pulse. So either on the palm or on the skin, on the palm, on the wrist, and on the neck. And then they are to stay still and then count the number of beats in the head. So throughout the lesson, I want to reinforce these keywords. Like pulse and heart, and this is according to Watson's law of frequency. So through repetition, it will condition a stimulus and response to occur. So it just gets them to familiar with it. Before, we want to ask them about what happens during recess. So this is based on constructivist theory from Piaget and Vygotsky about how real people learn by building on existing life experiences. So the activity will get them to familiarize through different cognitive ways, and this is from Flavo. Metacognitive learning. And so after they do this and they count the beats, this is group work. So we be inclusive of SND, so kids can, or not in SND, but just kids can like help each other and work in groups, makes things a little more interesting, and they were to calculate the pulse rate when resting, resting or sitting. And then they are going to do afterwards, they are going to do an exercise, follow exercise video, and then for like 30 seconds, and then they're going to find the pulse rates again. And then they're going to measure down, they'll record, measure, write down, measure, and then write down, record their findings. And afterwards, there's some group work which will help guys to, look at each other and compare each other's work and see who has what kind of heart rate did they get? Did they get faster? Did they get much faster? How much faster? And the students can compare. Students love to compare. So this is kind of like, again, to constructivist theory. So kids can, constructivist theory. So drawing their real life examples, real life learning. And at this point, students should look at each other's work and complete a statement and help each other. It's really important. By this point, students should try to elaborate. So there's some elaboration. So, what would happen if we continue exercise for another 5 minutes, or another 10 minutes, or another 30 minutes? So, this is looking at the elaboration side, which is quite essential for 5E, for students to be able to apply those ideas, not to master biological concepts, not to present, but to master the concept by drawing appropriately to novel contexts and situations. So towards the end, there's a portion of my time to give students to review their learning, and they can try out the new learned knowledge by tackling questions not introduced previously. So this is an example for them. They really need to be able to answer the question correctly. They really need to understand the concepts of how exercise and makes the pulse rate go faster. So there is some work for them to do. So there's some learning, so which they can copy or write their own answers. I usually ask students to write out what their understanding is, or what do you think the understanding means, using the keywords, and they are used to use the keywords and make sentences out of them. And then for them to draw copy out a few times, recognition for repetition, as Watson suggests, and to draw a picture of what their understanding is, pulse rate or blood or muscles, for them to contextualize it differently through pictures. So this adheres to Gardner's multiple intelligence theory, so that students can exhibit various intelligence across a range of different areas. In short, it means some students explain concepts better through words, some students explain concepts better through drawing and art, visuals, some students better explain by action. So they want to try and cover the spectrum a little bit more to cater for students. This is actually the second part of the lesson, but I'll just include in the same PowerPoint. So yeah, this is my lesson. Thank you for listening.